Chef Cindy Paulson has a simple rule. Let Mother Nature rule the menu when you can. And that's really easy to say when you live in a place as beautiful as Napa, California. From tending her garden to making pottery like these salt dishes for her restaurants, Cindy Paulson's what I call a real hands-on person.
You'd be famous, you know. Sergio's famous too.
It's really pretty.
Did you get the mustard one in there?
Hey Cindy, how are you?
Good, good. How are you? Welcome.
Great to meet you.
Thank you. It's nice to have you here.
Well, let's go take a look at the place. Thanks.
You want to see the garden?
I'd love to.
Wow. It's a big one. I love being out here because I see so many animals.
Look there's another one.
We have turkeys with babies right now running around the property. The little babies like this big.
You do?
And they run all over. These are the citrus trees. Mm-hmm. These are the blueberries.
Wow.
And then here's the sage and some thyme. Come on, Ding. And then these are Armenian cucumbers. I just picked a bunch yesterday for the restaurant. I'm not sure. There's a little baby right there.
Oh,
Isn't
wow.
that sweet?
Uh-huh.
That'll be big enough to eat in 2 days. And there's
I'm
some
smelling
green
the
onions.
sage.
Yeah, isn't it
Smells
nice?
so good.
And then,
You grew up in Minnesota.
Yes.
With a family that loved to cook. What were your early influences?
Well, my parents loved to eat, and my mom was a good cook, a very good cook, but not too extravagant. But my father was Russian and Austrian, and my mom was German and Norwegian. And so there was a lot of family foods and things that maybe other kids in the neighborhood didn't eat or have when they were growing up. My dad didn't like store-bought stuff, so we'd make him things. And my older siblings could draw and paint and play piano better than I could, so I'd cook for them.
And what do you remember cooking when you were
Everything.
young?
I remember my dad was an avid hunter, and I remember chasing my sister around with my arms covered with duck blood because I had little hands, and so I could clean the wild birds out easier than my dad and my uncle. And Julie hated blood, so I'd chase her all throughout the house.
And then with this background too, probably strudels and baking.
Well, a lot of baking. My mom she did some strudels, but she mostly did breads and cookies because she didn't like to eat dessert. She wouldn't mind making them, but we always had cookies when we came home from school. There was always, and Christmas time she went berserk.
How did you wind up in Napa? You've been here what?
I've been here 26 years. So I ended up coming out. I met these people in Chicago, Bill Upson and Bill Higgins, and they were friends, and they worked in the same company I worked in, Let Us Entertain You. And
Let Us Entertain You?
yeah, it was run by a man named Rich Millman, who's still a big influence in my life. He's a great guy. And we left because the Chicago winters, we'd had enough. I was from Minnesota, and they were from Florida and California, so that we all got out of town. And they came out to California, and they did some restaurants. And they called me and said, we need some help. Come on out and get us going on this one restaurant. So I actually just flew out here. And 7 months later, my cousin drove out my stuff.
So you just stayed?
I never went back, yeah. And we were in San Francisco for about 9 months, and then I came to Meadowood, and I never left the valley. These are my beans and the bean teepee. And what we do, we've got a lot of fir that are too close together, so we just cut the fir trees off and then take off the side branches and use them as stakes. And they'll last for like 10 years.
I never knew that beans had a teepee.
Oh, a teepee just looks good in the garden, and these are pole beans versus bush beans, and so they grow up there. And then they're easy to harvest because the beans are usually on the inside, so you can just feel around, get them out. Some arugula I harvested yesterday, and then there's more for today, and carrots and peppers and lettuce greens.
Okay, so Meadowood, there you are, big resort, prestigious job.
Yeah.
And?
I was there for 2.5, almost 3 years. It was going really well, I thought. And then a new general manager came over. They'd gone through quite a few. And he said that either his first day on the job, he came to me and said, either you or your sous chef are leaving. And my sous chef had told me that his wife was pregnant the day before. So I thought, okay, I'm leaving. And I called the owners and said thanks and goodbye. And I went to work at a little French cafe. And the owners were really miffed because they liked me a lot.
So would you say that was sort of one of the first choices, big choices you had to make?
No, it was fun. It was I'd been working for a long time. Since I was 13, I'd been working. And so I thought this would be a fun job. They're only open 5 days a week, 4 dinner shifts and 1 lunch shift. They're closed every Monday and Tuesday, so I always get 2 days off a week. The owner was a little bit eccentric, had another business in the East Coast, so we'd close for 10 weeks a year so he can go on vacations. So it was like a cush job. And while I was doing that, I was still in touch with Bill and Bill, and they had always said we were going to have restaurants together, and they were busy opening restaurants for this other gentleman we were working for who's still a good friend. And I said, okay, but there's a location for sale on Highway 29, and they said, we can't afford it, it's $120,000.
And when was this?
I was in 1983, and I said, well, I don't think there's going to be anything cheaper. And they came up and looked at it, and sure enough, we turned it into Mustard's Grill.
And that was just iconic. That was...
And it was just what was needed in the valley. There was a lot of really casual places like Vern's Copper Chimney where you could get a greasy spoon meal, or there was Auberge du Soleil or Domaine Chandon. We could get beautiful French food very elegantly prepared.
Nothing in between.
And there wasn't much in between.
Would you say that you really started the restaurant renaissance here, that after Mustard's and you really got that up and running, people went, wow, there is a market for this here?
That's kind of egotistical to say, I think, in a funny way, but I think we were one of the first ones that did a comfortable restaurant that was open to everybody, dressed up with jeans and a t-shirt. You know, winery guys in their boots coming in with little sample bottles, you know. And it was a neighborhood joint. And it's a special place with the locals. And so I love it. And it's the first restaurant I did by myself without any partners, so it was fun.
And also, it's a different menu. You've got big plates and small plates.
And I just do things that I like to cook. It's like if you're eating at my house.
And
the menu changes a lot. It's very seasonal. It's very simple, straightforward.
It's delicious. I've been there. I really love the restaurant. But let's talk about the most exciting news today. I mean, you got your new book.
Yeah, I did.
Big, small plates.
Big flavor, small portions.
3 years of work.
Yeah, there it is. The first
Cindy
thing.
Paulson.
Both my partners.
Big, small plates. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Isn't it?
Are they good friends, Mandavis?
Yeah, and Jim Harrison's just, he's an author. He's not a...
From Montana, right? Or yeah, I've read his
really
work.
Cool. And Tracy. Oh, wow. It's funny to see a book in print the first time because you work so hard on it.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. Isn't it great?
Mm-hmm. Oranges and smashed cherries. I'm just licking my lips.
Yeah, I think it came out really nice.
So tell me about the book, how this came about.
Ever since 1985, I've been doing small plates when we opened Fog City Diner, and I like eating that way. I like going out for, you know, regular food, but I'd order everything on the menu. We'd eat a little bit of it and share. I don't like to have a big amount of one thing. So it's just food I like to eat that's small and fun and
It's
simple.
kind of healthier eating.
I think it is. I think overall you tend to eat less because you get more satisfaction because you're eating different things.
Now, how do you get your ideas and your inspiration for what you cook?
Well, a lot of the time it's in the garden, it's in the walk-in, seeing what we have to use up. I've got tons of cookbooks. I love cooking, reading cookbooks, and I hardly ever actually sit down, unless I'm doing pastries, and follow a recipe. I'll read like 14 recipes on how to make paella, and then I'll go make paella.
You'll decide in your head what you like.
It just kind of all comes together. You know?
So you'll go into your library.
And I'll do research on something, and I'll read things.
Do you make notes, or is it just
notes
all...
and in my head, and take photocopies and make notes on the photocopies, and then wander around
and then put it together and then say, oh, I did this and this.
and then change things and make notes of what you changed. Because the thing in a restaurant is you have to be consistent. People like a dish, they want it the same way every time. So we're very disciplined about developing exactly how we did something and then repeating that.
What is your favorite idea of a meal? What's your perfect meal?
Oh boy, it changes with the seasons. You know, because you're hungry for different things at different times.
Yeah.
I think right now I'm in a gazpacho phase because it's so hot, and grilled vegetables. We just had a bowl of gazpacho last night and some grilled vegetables with steamed sticky rice. It was really nice.
Now, do you still cook yourself at home? Mm-hmm. And do you enjoy that?
I love it. I love to cook. The rest of it's work.
Do you think there's been a change for women in the food business since you started out? There are a lot more women.
Yeah, but it's still a demanding business. There are less women chefs than men chefs by a long shot. It's a hard industry for women if you're going to raise a family, I think. It's a very demanding industry, and you're in it a lot and you work a lot.
What kind of healthy advice would you give people who sit down to order a meal in a restaurant? I mean, if they were wanting to be healthy, do you?
I think people don't realize that they can split things and share things. And I like to do it. Even if we have 4 dishes, I like to space them out and share them because it's more fun. And then you eat less normally because you get full if you're eating slower.
That's a proven fact, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You actually get full 20 minutes.
You sense it before. If you're eating fast, you've eaten before your fullness sensors kick in.
I read that it actually takes 20 minutes for your brain to register that you're full.
Yeah.
So
anything the last 20 minutes of what you ate, you really didn't need.
So you're telling people, eat a little more slowly.
Yeah.
And maybe
it helps, I think, health-wise.
And
then eat variety. People tend to eat,
the same things?
Yeah.
How do you get balance in your life when you're so busy and have a relationship, have the restaurants, have a dog, have a staff?
Well, I just, try to plan a reasonable amount to accomplish in one day.
Has it taken you a long time to figure out what you can do in a day? Are you pretty disciplined that
Very
way?
disciplined.
Those are,
These are these are the quince trees.
Uh-huh.
See those two? And the blackberries are down there. And then beyond this, these are raspberries.
oh wow.
The little bushy guys down there.
What is on your bedside table? What are you reading?
We can go look. I think I have Julia and Julia. I've been reading that. That's that woman that did her cookbook. I have a Louise Erdrich book that I'm reading that's about this priest. I can't remember the title. And then I've got this book on dogs in transgression, a dog book.
How
that I'm
great.
reading. So there's 4 things I'm working on.
So it's the things you love. It's food and animals.
Yeah,
Right
food
there
and
by your
animals.
bedside. Tell me something about you that nobody knows.
I don't know. There's a lot. I don't think everybody knows everything.
And you don't want them to, so how about just one thing?
I love potato chips.
But do you make them yourself?
Yes. That wasn't what my dad did. He manufactured potato chips for a living.
He did?
Yeah.
So
we
old,
make our chips at Mustard's, and I make chips at home.
so old habits die hard.
Yeah, they do. Chips and dip. That's what we used to eat when we were kids. It's probably my only junk food that I really like.
Do you ever wonder about the choices women have made throughout history? I have some stories for you. Harriet Tubman gained fame as the heroic woman who helped hundreds of slaves to freedom through an ingenious underground railroad system. What most people don't know is that although she never attended a single day of school, Harriet worked as a nurse, an agent for the Union Army, and a suffragette. Intelligence doesn't always come from books. Don't let a lack of education stop you from accomplishing what you believe in. We have all kinds of interesting information to share on our website, balancingyourlifeonline.com. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Ellen Susman. Until next time.
Balancing Your Life is made possible in part by the Lee and Joseph D. Jamail Foundation, J.P. Morgan Chase, Sarah S. Morgan, Fred Barron and Lisa Blue. Additional funding is provided by the Laurie M. Tisch Foundation, Andrea and Jim Gordon, Goldman Sachs, Amagi Bank, I.W. Marks Jewelers, Terrell W. and Joan B. Oxford, and others. For a complete list, visit us at www.balancingyourlifeonline.com.